Hi 7th graders, today we are going to be working on 9.5, which is all about circles. Our learning target is I can calculate the area and circumference of a circle using pi and the radius. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so we have some different words for circle. So circle is the set of points in a plane that are a fixed distance from a given point. And remember, circles are circular, okay? So when we take a look, we have the center of a circle, which is right smack dab in the middle. And then we have the radius, which is halfway from our center to the outside of our circle. Okay, that is called the radius. Write that down. Then we have what's called the diameter, which is all the way across. So if they give you the diameter and you need to find the radius, you would divide the diameter by 2, and that would give you your 2 radiuses, or radii. Okay? Then we have the circumference, which is like perimeter. Circumference is just finding out how long our circle is all the way around. So circumference is like perimeter. And then the last thing we are going to talk about is a sector. And a sector is part of your circle. And it could be super tiny, it could be super big, depends on each one. Alright, so those are the different words that you will need to know for circles. Now moving on, we have the circumference and we have the area. So we're going to start with circumference. This is your formula for circumference. C equals pi times d. Remember, a number and a letter squished together mean times. So circumference is what the C stands for. The D stands for diameter. And then pi, anytime we use pi in this class, we are going to be using 3.14. Okay, so if we have this circle, and we need to find the circumference, we take I always write my formula, C equals pi d. Pi is 3.14 times our diameter, which is 16. We'll multiply that out, and you get 50 and 2400 inches. And it's just inches because we're finding like the perimeter. Okay, now let's move on to area. The area formula is a little bit different. It is A equals pi times r squared. Let me rewrite that too so it looks a little better. Pi r squared. So remember the A stands for area, the r stands for radius, so half of our diameter, and then pi is 3.14. So if we need to find the area of this circle, and remember, area is this whole part inside of our circle. It's A equals pi r squared. Pi, we said, was 3.14, times our radius, which is 9, and then we square that. So 9 squared would be 81. So you're taking 3.14 times 81, which gives you 254 and 3400 feet squared, because it's area. Okay, so that's circumference and area. We're going to practice both. So number 1, we need to find the circumference of each circle to the nearest hundredth. Use 3.14 for pi. Alright, so circumference, C equals pi d. I want you to write that for every single one so that you start remembering that. Okay, so C equals pi, we said was 3.14, times our diameter. Well, we don't know our diameter for this one. We know our radius is 9. So our diameter would be 9 plus 9, which is 18. So we're doing 3.14 times 18. Now I'm going to type that into my calculator, and I get 56.52 millimeters. Awesome. Moving on to number 2. This time we're also finding our circumference, which is pi d. C equals pi is 3.14 times our diameter, which they tell us is 49. The whole thing is 49, so that's our diameter. Multiply that out. 3.14 times 49 gives us a circumference of 153.86 inches. Awesome, so that is circumference. Now we're going to take a look at number 1, which is area. We need to find the area to the nearest hundredth using 3.144 pi. So number 1, area equals pi r squared. So A equals pi, we know is 3.14, times our radius, which is 8 squared. So let's type that all in on our calculator. 3.14 times 8 squared gives us 200.96. And we're finding area, which is millimeters squared. Awesome, moving on to the second one. This time we're also finding area. So I like to write my formula every single time so I know what I'm plugging in. So A equals pi is 3.14 times our radius. They give us our diameter. We need to know half of this. Well, 14 divided by 2 gives us 7, so each of these is 7. So our radius is 7 squared. Type this in on your calculator. 3.14 times 7 squared gives me 153.86 inches squared. And that is our answer. Alright, so that's finding the area of an entire circle. Now we're going to talk about finding the area of a sector. So remember, a sector, up here, was part of our circle. Not the whole circle, part of it. So here's your proportion. It's your central angle, which is whatever is the angle of your sector. They will always tell you that. Over 360, because there are 360 total degrees in a circle. So it's your angle over 360 equals the area of the sector. That's x. We don't know what that is. Over the area of the entire circle. So pi r squared. Okay, so these ones take a little bit more work because we have to do quite a bit of work to set it up. So we need to find the area of this sector, rounding to the nearest hundredth, using 3.144 pi. So let's set up our proportion. The top number is the degrees, so 45. The bottom number, remember, is 360 because that's how many total degrees are in a circle. The top right side is the area of our sector, which we don't know, so that's x. And then the bottom is the area of the entire circle, which is pi r squared. So we have 3.14 times our radius is 4 squared. Alright, so here's how we could do this. We can cross multiply, get 360x equals, now we're multiplying all of this together. So we're taking 45 times 3.14, let me rewrite this. 45 times 3.14 times 4 squared. So before we solve it, we need to type all of that in on our calculator. So 45 times 3.14 times 4 squared gives me 2260.8, and that's all equal to 360x. Okay, now we need to solve. We need to divide by 360 because we want x all by itself. So for an area, I'm going to divide by 360. I get 6.28. What's our label? Feet squared. So that is the area of that little sector. Okay, now let's move on to the second one. This time we have an area of 145 with a radius of 6. So remember, the degrees of our sector goes up here. The bottom is 360 because that's how many total degrees are in a circle. We do not know the area of our sector, so that's x. And then remember, it's the area of the entire circle, which is pi r squared. Well, 3.14 times our radius, which is 6 squared. Okay, let's solve. We get 360x equals 145 times 3.14 times 6 squared. Now remember, to solve, we need to type all of this in on our calculator. So I'm taking 145 times 3.14 times 6 squared, which gives me a huge number, 16390.8. And that's all equal to 360x still. Now we need to solve, so we need to divide by 360. X equals, let's divide that. I get 45.53, and our label is meters squared. and that is the area of our sector. Awesome, so we just learned how to find circumference, which is pi times your diameter, area, which is pi times your radius squared, and then the area of a sector, which is setting up a proportion. If you have questions, let me know. Otherwise, have a great day.